People who come to Japan for the first time always notice the same thing. Everyone is so polite. The cashier at a convenience store bows when you walk in, bows when she hands back your change, bows again as you leave. On the train, nobody talks, nobody eats, nobody blasts music from their phone. It's quiet, ordinary, almost hard to believe. And then when you ask why Japan is like this, locals, tourists, academics, you get the same answer every time. It's Japanese culture, respect for others, harmony. Is it? Really? But here's what the answer leaves out. Japanese politeness is not really about kindness. It's a system, a very old, very sophisticated system for managing hierarchy, for navigation obligation, and for saying one thing while meaning something else entirely. That gap between the face you show to the world and the feeling underneath has a name in Japanese. And once you understand it, you start seeing this country completely differently. Let's start with the language itself. Japanese has a grammatical system called Keigo. It means respectful speech, and it's not optional. It's not something you do when you feel like being polite. It's built into Japanese structural level. In English, you can be more or less formal. Hey, can you help me? Versus, excuse me, could you possibly assist me? Different tone, same grammar. In Japanese, you use entirely different verbs, depending on who you are talking to. Take the word to eat. There are at least 3 versions. Taberu, for yourself, close friends, people at your level or below. Meshiagaru, only when you're referring to someone above you. Itadaku, when you're the humble one, receiving something from someone higher. You are not just choosing a word, you're announcing the relationship every time you open your mouth. Who is above? Who is below? What is the relationship? And this applies to everything: work, customers, teachers, strangers, at the party. The first things a Japanese person is often figuring out when they meet someone new is not what's your name or where are you from. It's, are you above me or below me? The same? Because until they know the answer, and I mean this literally, they don't fully know how to speak to you. The most famous example of all this is the business card exchange, the meishi. You present your card with both hands, bow slightly, receive the other person's card, both hands. Study it carefully. You don't scribble in it. You don't fold it. You don't shove it in your back pocket. To most Western visitors, this looked like extraordinary respect for another human beings. But what's actually happening is a ritual status negotiation. The card tells you where the person works, what their title is, and therefore exactly how to speak to them, which verb forms, how deep to bow, whether you can use their first name at all. The ritual isn't about the card, it's about establishing rank before the conversation even starts. And then there's a bow. The angle matters, the dilution matters, who goes first matters. The rough rules of thumb is the lower status person bows first, and the deeper. If you're not sure of the hierarchy, as foreigners usually aren't, so you can end up in a bowing loop. Each person's trying to out-humble the other, going lower and lower in display of mutual respect. That actually has nothing to do with respect. It's about correctly forming your place in the order. Here's where it gets really interesting. Japanese has two words that don't really have a dialect equivalent in English: Tatemae and Honne. Tatemae comes from architecture. It literally means the facade of a building, the front wall, the public face. In a social terms, it's what you say out loud. When you perform, when you show to the world, Honne is the opposite. Your true feelings, your real desire, what you actually think when no one's officially listening. And in Japan, keeping a gap between the two is not considered dishonest. It's considered mature, responsible, civilized. Here's a simple example. You're in a meeting at work. Your boss processes an idea. The idea is bad. Everyone in the room knows it's bad. Nobody says so. Instead, someone says, "That's quite an interesting approach," which in Japanese workplace language can mean exactly the opposite. After the meeting, in the corridor, everyone talks about how bad idea was. That's the Honne. The meaning was the Tatemae. The Westerner watching this might say, "Why doesn't anyone just speak up?" But that's misunderstanding of what the meeting is for. The meeting is not where you say what you think. The meeting is where you perform the group. The place where you actually say what you think is after work, at izakaya, the Japanese pub where the drink comes and the tatemae slowly dissolves. This is so common in Japan that there is a specific word for it: communication. From nomu, to drink, and a communication. Drinking as the legitimate space where the real conversation finally happens. There's a third concept that ties all this together. It's called amae. A psychiatrist named Doi Takao spent most of his career trying to explain amae to the rest of the world. He called it the most important word in the Japanese emotional vocabulary, and it has no real equivalent in English. Amae is something like the comfort of being able to depend on someone, the feeling that you can lean on the person without having to ask directly. They'll understand without you having to explain. In Japan, this kind of dependence is not a weakness. It's intimacy. It's trust. The catch is, amae is only possible within an established relationship with someone you know, someone in your group, with outsiders, strangers, clients, people from other companies. The wall goes back up. The tatemae returns. The Keigo kicks in. This is why Japan can feel like two completely different countries, depending on whether you're inside or outside someone's circle. Foreigners who visit often feel the warmth, but can never quite reach the core. That's not coldness. That's the boundary between tatemae word and amae word. So if the whole society runs on tatemae, where does pressure go? For a very long time, the answer was the izakaya. But there was also formal mechanism for it, a word bureiko. It means roughly, tonight we suspend the rules. A boss would officially declare bureiko at the start of the drinking session. It was a signal. For this evening, rank is lifted. You can say what you actually think. You can complain. You can even criticize upward. And the word goes back further than you'd expect. All the way to Kamakura period, the 1300s, when Emperor Go-Daigo reportedly held a feast across the social ranks to secretly plan a rebellion against the shogunate. To speak freely, he had to officially declare the rank didn't apply for the night. Even in a medieval Japan, the only way to have an honest conversation was to first officially suspend the hierarchy. then made honest conversation impossible. And then, next morning, everybody went back. No one mentioned it. The Tatemae resumed. It sounds almost absurd, but it worked. The izakaya was the pressure valve, the release that kept the system intact. Breiko is a real and fascinating concept. The etymology tracing to Emperor Go-Daigo as historical depth. This section makes the izakaya not just a fun fact, but structural features of Japanese society. But something changed. Starting in the 1990s, a new term appeared in Japan, aruhara, alcohol harassment. Forced drinking at work events, peer pressure to stay late, to keep the boss company, to drink more than you wanted. What had once between the pressure valve started to look like just another form of pressure. In 2011, a court in Kobe officially recognized alcohol harassment as a legal concept, and the conversation shifted. Drinking parties stopped being where the rules were suspended, and started being where new rules were violated. By 2019, the hashtag Bonenkai Suru, skip the year-end party, went viral on Twitter in Japan. This was before COVID. Younger workers were already opting out. By 2021, for the first time ever, more than half of Japanese workers across all age groups said drinking with colleagues was unnecessary. The valve was closing. So the question became, if not izakaya, then where? For a while, it looked like the answer was the internet, anonymous message boards, social media, a place where you could finally say what you really thought without putting your face on it. But in May 2020, a 22-year-old professional wrestler named Honne Kimura died by suicide. She had been approaching on the reality TV show and had been receiving relentless abuse on social media. Thousands of anonymous messages, targeted, personal, devastating. Japan was shaking. In 2022, Japan strengthened its laws against online insults, dramatically increasing penalties. The same year, legal reform made it significantly easier to identify anonymous posters, a single court process where before it had to take two. The least space for anonymous honesty started to get a lot less anonymous. And at the same time, Japanese workplaces were changing in another direction. Diversity guidelines, harassment prevention frameworks, compliance training. On Japanese culture critic called what's emerging a white society. Not white as in race, white as in clean, sanitized. A society where anything that might offer is gradually removed from public life, where the pressure to present a flawless surface is no longer just cultural, it's institutional. The izakaya closed, the internet got regulated, the workplace got complianced. The Tatemae didn't just win the battle, it's winning the war. I want to pause here and say something that might surprise you, because this isn't only about Japan. In 2018, the director James Gunn, the man behind Guardians of the Galaxy, was fired by Disney, not for something he did in 2018, for jokes he posted on Twitter between 2008 and 2011, a decade earlier, on a platform that barely exists and a culture that had completely different norms. Gunn apologized. He said he was a different person. Disney's statement was 4 words, indefensible, and we disagree. He was gone. He was eventually reinstated after his entire cast campaigned for him. But the moment had happened. 10-year-old words, judged by today's rules. This is happening everywhere in the English-speaking world. Cancel culture, political correctness, platform bans, the fear that anything you say today or 10 years ago could be used against you. Insensitive is the same as in Japan. Keep the tatemae, manage the surface, because of the consequences of honne are unpredictable. The difference is that Japan has been building and refining this system for over 100 years. The English-speaking world is arriving at the same place in about a decade. Japan might be a mirror for where we all heading. So let's come back to where we started. That konbeni kashu, the bow, the two hands of the receipt. Is that kindness? It might be, but it's also trained behavior that has been reinforced by 10,000 small social consequences over a lifetime. A behavior that sits somewhere between genuine warmth and a performance so deeply practiced it's become real. In the last episode, we talked about cleanness, how a researcher named Tanaka Daisuke distinguished between displayed norms, rules that have to be written on posters, and undisplayed norms, rules that nobody needs to state, because everyone just follows them. Tatemae made the same journey. It was once exactly taught. Etiquette books, manner campaigns, this is how you behave in public. And now it runs silently, automatically, in the background of every interaction. There's a Japanese word that captures the whole things perfectly, KY. It stands for kuki yomenai, can't read the air. It's an insult, what you can call someone who says the wrong thing at the wrong time in the wrong way. Someone who lets their honne show when the room needed tatemae. But KY is also self-aware joke. The Japanese know that their society asks a lot of people that reading the air is exhausting. The performing the right face all the time takes a toll. And today, with the izakaya losing its power, with the internet becoming less anonymous, the compliance culture rising, the space for honne isn't getting smaller. So here's the question I'll leave you with. Every society has tatemae, a public face, a set of things you're supposed to say, instead of what you actually mean. Japan's version is just older, more refined, more visible once you know where to look. But think about your own country, your own workplace, your own family. Where is your honne? And is it getting harder to find a place to put it? Next time on Hidden Japan, Japan is often called one of the safest countries in the world. Low crime, unlocked doors, women walking alone at midnight. But what if the safety isn't what it looks like? I'm sure this is Japan honestly. The Japan that Japanese people live inside every day but rarely stop to question. New episode next week. See you then. Thank you. ありがとうございます。